Hi everybody, Barbara Mancunia Smith here, and today we are talking about breast health and pink washing. So if you are watching, as always, come and tell us where you're watching from. Say hi and post your questions underneath because I will be responding them throughout the live and after the live. So if you're watching this on the replay, you can still post your questions below, okay? All right, so let's dive right in. Today, it's October 12th, and as most of you know in the world, this is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Why do I have a problem with that? Because there's a lot of conversation about breast cancer. In fact, there's only conversations about breast cancer. If you Google the word breast, you will see what comes up. Hey Rita, nice to see you. So if you Google the word breast, you will see what comes up, especially in the month of October, but in general, the word breast is associated to a disease, right? Or in some other places, is associated to sexual activity and porn, basically. So when the general consensus or the general culture around breast is either disease or sexual activities, and a small little part is about nurturing your children, okay? So we have Lynn, we have ciao Michaela. Am I going live in the right place here? Hopefully I'm there where I'm supposed to be. Okay, so today we're going to talk about breast health. Why? Because it's important that we become, especially as women, aware of what's happening out there, what they are doing purposely, what is the agenda that is being pushed on us, and why nobody instead is talking about breast health. So if you are a woman of any age, a mature woman of any age, you know about the importance of doing self-breast massage. Why? To possibly detect any mutation and looking for lumps, correct? Nobody's ever taught you about lovingly massaging your breast for the sake of it, just to love your breast, right? So as women, since we were born, we've been conditioned to believe that we have these two organs here that are basically pre-malignant lesions. Basically, we're just waiting for cancer to happen. And in itself, we're going to discuss today, grazie bella. This girl, she was with me when we were little in school. Our grandmothers used to know each other. So that's how far back we go. Anyway, so going back to breast health, since we were little, we were conditioned to fear and expect, hence prevention, right? The fact that we have these two malignant lesions sitting on our chest, and one day, something is gonna happen. So basically we will have breast cancer. So this is called, and that's why we use so many words of scanning, detecting, screening, right? Specific population that could be a risk, and then we're gonna talk about genetics and epigenetics. So it implies that inevitably we're gonna get cancer. And that is also known as pink washing. But of course, you're not going to hear this conversation, right? It's a lot of greenwashing, not a lot of pink washing. But this is pink washing. This is telling you that you have to live your life in fear that at some point, you, your mom, your grandmother, your kids will get breast cancer. And for this, they don't offer any solution. The only preventions that they offer is screenings. They are in itself dangerous, right? Because the amount of radiation that you get through mammograms, it's really harmful. On top of that, mammograms will detect often, and you guys can do a Google search and do the researches yourself, but I will post some resources at the bottom of this video. What happens with mammograms is many times they detect masses that will then lead to what? Biopsies. That in itself, a biopsy is also a very dangerous procedure. There's a lot of conversation in the scientific world. I'm not talking about, just regular people. In the scientific world, whether biopsies could produce, if there is even a small cancer cells, an extension of the problem. And so the biopsy itself could be a dangerous procedure, not to mention anesthetics and neurotoxins that come with it. And of course, if they find something, the solutions are preventing mastectomy, because and you guys please chime in if you have experienced something like this, if you have a dear one that is going through this right now. What is offered is really not much. So it's radiation, it's chemo. Again, these are very neurotoxic toxins that don't just harm the cancerous cells, they harm the rest of your body. But this is not a conversation whether you should do chemo or not, because today we're talking about breast health. But I'm just saying what's offered out there, right? So you got this mammograms, that's how we start. So you go to your doctor that you trust, and your doctor is basically imposed by his board or her board to recommend to you to do an annual mammogram. After that, as I said, should they find anything, they will immediately send you to get a biopsy, whether that was warranted or not. And they say that prevention is the best form. So screening is the best form of prevention. But this couldn't be further from the truth. And you know why I say that? Because studies are telling us that. In fact, let me just read it somewhere because I want to make sure that I give you the right numbers. Did you know the studies are showing that the risk of a woman dying from breast cancer if she doesn't have regular mammograms is less than 1%? Let me just say this again because I speak very fast, I know. So, do you know that the risk of a woman dying from breast cancer if she doesn't have regular mammogram is less than 1%? This study that was reported in the New England Journal of Medicine showed that 995.6 out of 1,000 women age 50 and older will not die of breast cancer within the next 10 years. I just want these numbers, guys, to sink in. And this number rises a fraction of a percentage. That means not even 1%. A fraction of 1% with regular mammography screening. So, what did I just say? I just said that what's currently offered to us is live in fear that if you have breasts, those breasts could be just pre-malignant lesions sitting right there on your chest. 2, go to regular mammography screenings. And should anything be found that they cannot really tell with a mammogram what that could be, and it could be a very simple cyst, then they send you to do a biopsy with everything that comes with a biopsy, right? With that procedure. And then, whether they find something or not, traditionally, preventatively, double mastectomy, it's advised. And now, in all this, you guys, we are not even going into the root cause of the problem yet. In fact, I can tell you that I have a client who they found cancer tissues in one of her breasts. So she underwent a preventative double mastectomy. Do you understand what that means? It means that they found some tissues, changed some lesions in one of her breasts, so they removed both of them. They convinced her to remove both of them because they said, now you can be fine. My very best friend in Italy, I mean, she's my soul sister, she just undergone a complete removal, hysterectomy. Because they said, well, you know what? After 45, once you're into menopause, you really don't need your ovaries anymore. That's what they used to believe with the appendix and a bunch of our tonsils. And then only to discover, oh no, really? We need our appendix as an important part of our immune system. We need our tonsils because it's an important part of our lymphatic system. So, by the way, there was nothing I could have done to convince her. And she, at 47, undergone a complete hysterectomy. Now, you have celebrities that probably you know of that have gone through a preventative hysterectomy and or mastectomy, not even because they found any cancerous cells, but because what? Because they turned positive for a gene, you guys. Nowadays, we know that genetics influence 1% of the expression of our diseases. And let me just say this again. Your genetics, meaning the genes that you inherited from your parents, affect 1% of how your health is going to go. The rest is lifestyle. The rest is epigenetics. Now, this is commonly known, and yet you still get, let me just tell you, over the pandemic, and then actually I should say over the 5 years, voluntary removal of healthy breast tissues. Let me just say this again, healthy breast tissue. There was no cancer. But voluntary removal, that means that doctors taught them into such a level of fears that these women voluntarily said, well, you know, I've had my kids, I already breastfed, what do I need to do with that? I'm gonna do a reconstruction, I'm gonna have better breasts than I had before. Yeah, there's also marketing involved into that. So voluntary removal of healthy breast tissues has increased 200% over the last only 5 years. 200%. That means that women are like, you know, tummy tuck, mastectomy, hysterectomy, good to go. Now, remember I told you I had a client that was convinced to do a preventative mastectomy, so she removed both breasts. They never address the cause, because you see, there's no doctor that, and if you guys are in this, please chime in. People who do, who are going right now through visit with oncologists and, you know, radiation, chemotherapy, they never tell you what is the root cause. They may say, well, it's a hormone-related cancer, or it's a genetic-related cancer, but they never tell you what was the root cause. So after they do the preventative mastectomy, they say that you can go back to your normal life. But remember epigenetics? Epigenetics that tells us that if the gene, even if you did have a gene, its expression is determined by your lifestyle and your lifestyle choices, not your genes. So they don't talk about lifestyle changes, right? So what my client got a second reoccurrence of cancer. How is that possible? She had both breasts removed. Guess what? Her cancer came back on her sternum. Why? Because that preventative mastectomy never addressed the root cause. That is definitely not in her breast, not in her genes either. So we're going to talk about that. Because today I really want to focus on the breast health and give you some food for thought and kind of bring into your consciousness the fact that just like happened with COVID, just like happens every day with, you know, now flu shots, marketing campaigns are everywhere, there's an agenda to create this cancer phobia and to create the germ phobia, right? So God forbid, we come in contact with germs. So God forbid, we maintain our breasts, right? God forbid, you know, we touch our breasts for anything other than look for lumps, right? But what that does, it keeps us in a state of fear, and most importantly, in a state of disempowerment, because once we're paralyzed by fear, right, then we feel hopeless. So then we have to look outside of ourselves for answers. So whoever comes to you and seems very convincing and like he knows or she knows what she's talking about, then you're gonna follow. That's how my friend just got a complete hysterectomy, preventative. She didn't have cancer, but preventatively, and they even said, you don't really need your ovaries after, you know, you give birth, you're in menopause, you just don't need it. So she's like, well, you know, what's the point? So I will never die of ovarian cancer. But you know, you guys, and if you haven't heard me talking before in any of my videos, we're talking about breast health, but the things I'm telling you right now, they can be valid for anything else that happens in your body. If you still believe that if you have breast cancer, the problem is in your breast, then you're grossly misled. You're being grossly misled. So like my friend, my best friend, as I said, she's my soul sister. She could be my sister just from another mother. Was convinced, despite everything I said to her, so she was convinced that preventative removal of her ovaries would save her from an ovarian cancer. But as I said, my client, she got the cancer back on her sternum. So whatever caused that cancer was not addressed. So make no mistake, you can remove your breast and you're still gonna end up with cancer if you're not addressing the root cause. But nobody's talking root cause, right? Because there's no money in root causes, in understanding the root cause and creating real prevention. There's no money in there, but there's money in chemotherapy, there's money in radiation, there's money in artificial inoculation, there's money in surgeries, all of it, right? We know that. Watch now, Facebook is gonna take me down. Anyway, let's continue until they do that. So, yeah, we talked about voluntarily removal of healthy breast tissues. It grew 200% in the last 5 years. Voluntary, you know, meaning you don't have cancer, but they scare you enough to say, you know what? I think the best solution, if you really want to be, you know, safe, it's to remove both of your breasts. Okay, so genetics. So why are we so scared? Genetics is a big conversation. Angelina Jolie, she discovered she had the gene mutation, her mom had it, her aunt had it, they all died, so God forbid I have kids, she has a lot of them, I want to stay around for them, so here it is. Let me just remove everything. Hysterectomy, mastectomy, all of it. You know what genetics tells us? Genetics tells us that we have inherited genes that potentially can express. Potentially based on what? On lifestyle choices. But as I said, science tells us that genes are accounting for only 1% of the reason why a specific disease will manifest in your body. You know what people have in common when they end up having the same disease? For instance, I have families of diabetic people. You see them at the supermarket, the mom, the dad, all of them overweight, and they have these 3 little kids, also all of them overweight. You will see, and I see them, and sometimes I have to stop myself from going and talking to them, right? When they are grabbing those graham crackers, and put them in the shopping cart, and I see the kids with this, thicker skin on their neck, darker, and you know that this pre-diabetic or diabetic. What we have in common is our shopping cart, for instance. So it's not the genes that mom passed on to the kids, it's what these kids are being fed. As women, when we talk about breast cancer, you know what we have in common with our mom? Not just the genes that she passed on to us, but the way she took care of herself, the way she modeled self-care for us. And most likely, we're gonna take care or not of ourselves the same way our mom modeled for us. So when we just look at epigenetics genetics that just account for 1% of the reason why you might end up one day with breast cancer, we are missing the 99% that is the causative factor of which you may end up with breast cancer or any other issue, during your lifetime. And as I said, make no mistake, if something shows up, I think I said it in a video last week, if you have a pain here, and of course the attention, I think last week we talked about delocalizing. The attention will go on your hand because this hurts. So something must be wrong here. The moment you feel the effect here, make no mistake, this is a systemic issue. Meaning something is going on already on a systemic level. I have my certification program for coaches. Now we have coaches certified all over the world. My lymphatic reset has been translated in many languages. So every time I talk to them to kind of reel them in because they can get overwhelmed with, oh my God, I don't know how to diagnose. We don't diagnose, but let's make it simple and go back to basics. You know what we are? We're a bunch of cells immersed in 2 fluid systems. The cells are immersed in our blood and our lymphatic system. That's what it is. So anytime you have a problem, an imbalance, a cancer, however you want to call it, a diagnosis or a label of any sort, you have to go back not to what's going on here in this part of my body, here. You have to go on to what's happening to what? My cells and my liquid system. So cells need 3 things. They need to be fed by our blood, they need to be cleaned by our lymphatic system, and they need to be moved by our nervous system. So when there's a problem anywhere in your body, it's never a localized problem in your breast. It's a problem at cellular level. So something is happening at a cellular level. And what could be happening? Some problem with blood, some problem with cleaning, lymph, some problem with the nervous system that moves them, right? So, but wait a minute. The blood, let's say you have dirty blood. Let's say that your blood is coagulating. Your blood is not oxygenating. It's not fed properly. What happens? Your blood doesn't just go to your breast tissue, right? Your blood feeds the whole body, every single cell in your body. So what is the blood dirty here only? The blood is dirty here only? It might express, because we do have genetic weaknesses and consciousness that we're going to talk about. It might express in a localized level, but make no mistake, as I said, lady removes both breasts and she has a reoccurrence on her sternum. Why? Because the issue was never addressed. It was never a localized issue. It's a systemic issue. So if your blood is dirty, it's gonna feed dirty food to every cell in your body. And based on some genetic weaknesses, this is what's gonna appear. So I have a lot of you, new people that just joined our lymphatic reset that is starting this week. And they give you, kind of their presentation. I ask people to introduce themselves on our private group. And, you should read the list, and maybe some of you are watching now, of all the labels that have been given. the medical system wants us to believe that these are all isolated occurrences. And so, of course, in fact, you will think that, my door might be closing soon. You would think that, in fact, you have like 10 different doctors. If you have 10 different labels, you might end up seeing 10 different doctors. And so from outside, you may think, oh, poor lady. Oh my gosh, she's had all this. But this is one issue only. You might have 10 diagnoses, still one issue, still one root cause. Remember, break it down, bring it to simplistic terms. You have cells all over your body. They're bathing in two fluid systems, your blood and your lymph. So if there's an issue anywhere, it's a blood issue, it's a lymph issue, and it's a nervous system issue. Overall, if you guys heard me talking before, it's a toxic issue, right? So because if your blood is toxic, it's gonna feed toxic blood to your cells. If you start hoarding toxicity like most of us do, you have issues eliminating this toxicity. Your lymphatic system gets congested. And of course, if like most of us have issue on a nervous system, then this is gonna affect everything, right? It's gonna affect the way your blood, your heart pumps, your lungs expand, right? It's gonna affect everything. So 3 things are needed for the cells to work properly: good food, good cleaning, and being able to be moved. That's it. So if there's an issue, you have to go back to basic and see where is the problem here. And make no mistake, if there's a problem here on the feeding part, there's going to be a problem in the elimination part and in the nervous system part, and vice versa, because we are a system. So don't listen to anybody that tells you the problem is the liver, the problem is the gut, the problem is your brain. This is not how we were designed. The moment you have a problem in your liver, you have a problem everywhere in your body. And the moment you have a problem in your gut, this has affected everything, right? Because we are not a bunch of organs. We're really a bunch of cells, right? So I call it the Christmas tree, meaning once you start having one diagnosis, if not addressed properly and the root cause, then you're going to have another one, and then another one, and then your Christmas tree is going to start to light up, right? So in order to unplug that strings of lights, you have to address your root cause and you have to go back to basics. But let's go back to breast health, okay? What are the risks, the true risk of breast health? So it is not, what we have to think about what our breasts represent. For a woman, it's the ultimate expression of womanhood, and womanhood in terms of nurturing the life that we give and nurturing ourselves. So 10 out of 10 women who eventually get diagnosed with breast cancer will confirm and tell you that they had no practice to nourish themselves. And if you guys are watching and you are concerned whether you're gonna get breast cancer or not, the conversation does not have to be a localized conversation here. It has to be a consciousness conversation about, am I prioritizing my needs? Am I putting myself last? Or and that is a lot to do whether you do this or not with our childhood wounds. So women with breast cancer tend to have difficulty taking care of themselves, nurturing themselves, and most importantly, feel that they deserve to be taking care of themselves, right? But how are you going to take care of others? Because that's what happens. You give literally, physically, pieces of yourself. When I say physically, I'm saying energetically. You just give out pieces of yourself to everybody until you're so depleted you're left with nothing, right? So if you also heard me talking before, probably you've heard the fact that I am a firm believer that disease is not here to harm us. Disease is actually a wake-up call. It tells us first ever so softly, and then whispering, and then more and more loud until it gets to a cancer level, but only shows us how much we have not listened to the whispers of our body. So it just shows us how much we have ignored our own inner wisdom due to childhood trauma, due to that developed then who we are, developed us in who we are today due to our coping mechanism and all that. And the pressure of society, right? The pressure of society, the culture, the agenda that are pushed upon us. And sometimes we're so tired that the last thing we want is to do our own research, is to take our health into our own hands. We just want to go out and say, please fix me. And that is the problem. Because by the time we get there, we're so disconnected from the self that is when the real issues arise. And not just breast cancer. As I said, this could be a conversation that is valid for everything. But going back to breast health, what do we need to do to practice breast health? First of all, become aware of this culture, right? Of pink washing that we've been discussing. And second, start to put things in practice. So pause. Don't do anything. The first thing to do is to pause, stop everything, drop everything, and just take 15 minutes for yourself. Take off your shoes, go outside. And some of you, when I posted last week about when was the last time that you've been earthing, you guys know I'm so afraid of Lyme disease. And I'm not mocking you. I understand the pain, especially if you are convinced that you're living with Lyme disease. However, you cannot live in fear, because fear is what we're talking about, right? Fear is the root cause of all of this. It's blocking our connection with the self, and it's disempowering us to where then we're looking outside for anybody that tells us, I'm gonna help you. So then you end up with a preventative mastectomy, preventative hysterectomy, because someone else outside of yourself told you what you needed to do, which was to remove healthy tissues to prevent cancer from reoccurring. Where? In your breast? Well, you got a bunch of other pieces still on you, and they'll continue to catch you if you don't address the root cause. So pause. Take 15 minutes for yourself. Go in the sun, barefoot, and just start breathing, okay? And when you breathe, then kind of connect with yourself and say, am I taking care of myself? Because make no mistake, everybody who's not taking care of herself is at risk of breast cancer or ovarian cancer or any type of cancer in the body if you're not taking care of yourself. Join a support group. We were not meant to do this alone, you guys. And by this, I mean life. So it's important to join a support group. I mean, everybody's so allopathic medicine, it's about procedure, drugs, and surgeries. Natural medicine is all about supplements and herbs. But studies, again, there's this connection between practice and science. Science, what everybody was saying in the past 2 years, I believe in science. Okay, this science is telling us that two major predictors of longevity and good health are being part of a support system and be socially integrated. They're not saying that is a primary priority versus even working out and healthy diet and so on. And that is the reason why you see people not necessarily on a strict diet, super healthy, versus you who have to check whether there's gluten and sugar and this and everything. And you're like, but how is she healthy and I'm not? So isn't the body working the same? The principle should be the same for everybody. But why Italian women and French women do not have an increase, in fact, you should read the research, you guys, do not have an increased incidence of breast cancer, even though we eat gluten and cheese and wine. Right? So, but what do we know how to do better than other cultures? We know how to take care of ourselves. Italy is famous for the dolce vita. And the dolce vita is nothing else that, the sweet side of life. We don't work to live. Sorry, we don't live to work. We work to live. We work so that we can have experiences. We can travel. We have long vacation time. In Italy, in Europe in general, you start with 3 weeks. And then eventually, by the end, between holidays and whatnot, you end up with, over a month and a half of vacation a year. Americans, I live in America now. Tell me, when was the last time you took a month off from work? Because if you are working for someone, you're never going to find your job, even if you have that vacation. If you take a month together, you're never going to find your job when you come back. In Italy, in August, in the month of August, they close the companies. They close the companies and everybody's on vacation. So regardless from whether you are, accrued vacation or not. So it's a better quality of life. It's a better quality of self-care and self-respect. That trickles down in the culture. That's why Italians get away with, gluten and wine. Now, balance is key in every conversation, but I'm saying compared to some of you who are so freaked out about what they eat, your body was not created differently than in a French body or an Italian body. Your culture is, what you believe is though. So that's what we need to reframe. So how do we take care of ourselves? How do we promote and create breast health? Pause, think. Are you taking care of yourself, or are you putting yourself last? Right? Join a support group. The reason why I created Soul Circle, it was because of that. Not because I needed to create another group. It's not a monetizing thing. It's, okay, people are getting up to a point with their dietary and then they can't go any further. And a lot of people are lonely. If you are there, please tell me if you agree, if this is you. A lot of people are lonely. A lot of people don't have a place to go and really say, please hold this space for me because I need to break down. We don't have that. We see our friends, and when we see, we're all up and going. Yeah, everything is fine. Hi, how's your husband? All good, all good. Everything is good. Meanwhile, you're crying at night. You can't sleep at night. Sometimes you're not even aware of the issues because you repress them so much. Where do you think that emotional toxicity is going? If you are in a relationship, and just like the other day, I had a client from Australia. She's in a very abusive relationship with her husband, and she has a host of health issues. Do you think there are connections? Or do you think the doctors will tell her, like she did the round of all the doctors because she has a problem on her knee, a problem in her foot, then she has a digestive issues, then she has, she found a mass under her armpit. And so she's seen 10, 15 different doctors. Do you think one asked them, are you happy? How is life at home? Are you fulfilled? So she has so much emotional toxicity that she's repressing. And she feels so disempowered because they put so much fear in her. You're this age, so you are, at risk for this and this and that. And so she is completely disempowered and at the same time completely disconnected from the self. So join a support group. We have Soul Circle starting now. And if you want to go on my website, barbararanconismith.com, check out the Soul Circle. It will be life-changing and you will make friends for life. You know that in the blue zones, I don't know if you guys have heard of the blue zones, but those are zones in the world. Italy is one of them. Japan is another one, where people seem to live over 100 in a healthy state. What they notice, all these places in the world have in common are a few things. And one of them is the support group. In Japan, actually, they're even assigned a birth, basically, a group of people that kind of will watch each other, will have each other's back forever, for the life. It's an honor thing, but that is the importance of a support system, you guys. Do not underestimate it. But even here in America, science is telling us the support system and social integration, and by social integration mean, do you speak to your cashier at the grocery store? Do you speak to your neighbor? Are you able to be social? Or are you just so afraid that, and I know a lot of you are my clients, they come to me so disempowered and afraid that, oh my God, if I go out, I'm going to catch this. If I go out, that they don't travel, they don't have sex anymore, they don't go to restaurants anymore, they don't partake in events. This is the number one cause of you having a shorter lifespan in terms of statistics than someone that instead is going out earthing right now in the face of how many ticks could be, beating her at that time. Do you know what I'm saying? Okay, so pause. Go earthing. Find yourself a support group. Join a support group. Get familiar with your body. So when I do my lymphatic reset, one of the activities I ask my clients to do is to get naked, literally, and go in front of the mirror and look at themselves, stare at themselves at the mirror for 5 minutes. Now, I would like to ask you, and you guys chime in, when was the last time that you posed naked for yourself in front of the mirror? And if you do, kudos to you. Most likely you're not that sick. But most of us, what do? We don't even look. We don't even look. Some of you even told me that even when you do have sex, you do it with clothes on because you're ashamed of the way you look. You guys, this is the first alarm. We don't have to go into preventative mastectomy to prevent cancer. We have to pause, get real, and understand when was the last time that I truly stared myself in the mirror and I truly loved what I saw. That I was able to be with my partner in complete freedom and intimacy without having to hide and conceal parts. because my boobs are sagging after, my third child, because, my butt is bigger, my belly is hanging, my extra skin. Loving yourself is a practice, you guys. So if you don't love yourself, and that starts with loving your body. Now, when was the last time that you lovingly massaged your breasts? Not to find a lump, but to truly send love to the space. To truly, it's not even a pleasure thing. It's truly be nurturing. Just like you caress your child before he or she goes to bed. Caress your breast. When? Every day. Yes, every day, 5 minutes. When you guys started the lymphatic reset, I gave you all things to do, right? And some of you are like, oh my God, Barbara, this is so much stuff to do. And again, we go to point number 1, pause. Are you prioritizing yourself? So lovingly massaging yourself. Use the oil, use a gua sha to also move, the lymphatic system, and check. When we do lymphatic reset, I always tell people your left side, your left breast is usually bigger. Why? Because here there's a big dumping hub for your lymphatic system. Dumping of what? Of toxins. What is cancer? It's toxins that are not leaving your body, that your body has not been able to eliminate, and eventually the body, in an effort to protect you, is gonna create a mass around it, coat it, and stop it there. Hopefully, at some point, we'll pay attention and we'll work through that emotional or physical toxicity. But if we don't, then eventually this is gonna take a life on its own. It's gonna be vascularized, there's gonna be blood supply to the area, and then it's gonna grow, right? So here, big major dumping ground, left side, massage your breast every day. Not when you remember, not once a week, not once a month, not when you have sex. Now, don't ask your husband, you can ask your spouse to massage yourself, but you need to do it for yourself. You need to love yourself. So loving, massaging yourself. Positive affirmation. I have a lady that discovered a lump under her armpit in Australia, that same lady. And she was obviously very concerned. She booked an appointment with her doctor. She knew though that if that were to be cancer, it was a life and death situation. So she literally, I kid you not, put herself into a week of positive affirmation. She used the Louise Hay affirmation. So she became what do affirmation do, guys? Allows you to become present, allows you to pause, allows you to drop the noise and other stuff that we're so distracted every day. I gotta take the kids, I gotta do that, I gotta, and say, attention to the self. Positive affirmation for a week. Long story short, she went to the exam. The imaging tech couldn't even find it. And where is that? She's like, it's supposed to be there. You don't see it? They couldn't find it. The doctor said, whatever you did worked, so you're good. Maybe it was a misdiagnosis. And she was even pissed because she was like, don't you want to know exactly what I did? He didn't care, right? But what I'm saying is, my philosophy is, if it works for one, it can work for all of us. Meaning the way we were designed is the same for everybody. We all eat and poop, most of us. Some of you are very constipated, and that is another story, right? But we eat, we poop, we sleep, we create emotional connection, we have sex, we procreate, we all, a bunch of cells swimming in two liquid system. So, two fluid systems. So we all work the same. Have you ever listened to Joe Dispenza? Joe Dispenza talks about quantum physics and how our consciousness, guys, this is science. This is not woo-hoo kumbaya. This is science. Our consciousness can affect our genes. And remember the epigenetics versus genetics, the expression of those genes. 1% these genes are responsible for what's happening to you right now. 99% is your consciousness, is your lifestyle choices, is you being aware of what you're doing and not doing, how much of yourself you're giving away, how much of yourself are not retaining for yourself, how disconnected you are to where you're just willing to listen to the first person or guru that writes a book and tells you, this is how you do it. Nobody should tell you what works for you and what doesn't work for you. Nobody should tell you that preventative mastectomy is gonna save you, right? So, positive affirmation, that's what we're talking about. Consciousness is everything, you guys. So listen to Joe Dispenza, look into quantum physics. You can actually change your cells just by becoming present and thinking about it, right? So heal your fourth chakra, guys. The breasts are close to your heart. They're also close to your lungs when I talk about lungs, because I know there's some of you brainiacs here, they're like, okay, consciousness, kumbaya, loving myself, massaging, tell me the science. This is science, but I'm going to address some of the things that I know some of you will be more excited to hear, because they feel like, okay, I understand that. I understand lungs, I understand herbs, so we're going to get there. But heal your fourth chakra is by your heart. There is a reason. If your heart is broken, like my daughter, she says, Mom, my heart is broken. If your heart is broken, meaning that there's a fracture, disconnection, like my lady, my client, living with a very abusive husband, her heart is broken. So, right? Nurture yourself, nurture your heart, not just your breast, your heart. Place your hand onto your heart and say, I love you. Because at the end of the day, that's what I teach in Soul Circle. But I teach you to become aware of where you are, where you were, and where you're going. But ultimately, it's us and our need to look outside of ourselves for this love, acceptance, and recognition that is causing all the disconnection and all the broken hearts, like my daughter talks about it. So place a hand on your heart. The moment that you did this movement, you become conscious, you become present here, okay? Because your mind is not on your cell phone, it's not on your computer email and listen to that, calling someone. You're here, right now. Take your hand, put it on your heart, and tell yourself, I love you, even if you don't believe it. Start with that. I love you. Thank you for taking me into this journey up to now. Thank you for being there for me throughout these times, hard times, good times. Connect with the heart, right? Heal your fourth chakra. If you are into chakras, just look it up and see how you can do that with positive affirmations, with meditation, of course. Because these are all tools that help you to become present, because our problem is none of us is present. Everybody lives on a fight or flight and PTSD mode, and that means that you are worrying about the future based on negative experience of the past, and you're missing your present. And when you miss your present, you cannot help but create disconnection and imbalances in the body. Okay, so become present is number one. Now, for those of you who are brainiacs and you're like, well, I still need to see it, to believe it, and I need some science. Here, your elimination system are 5 pathways that I always teach in my lymphatic reset. One is your gut, and everybody and their sisters talk about the gut. Everybody's talking about the gut, functional medicine, everybody. Good. It's one of them though. This emphasis on the gut, everything's the gut, it's overplaced. So gut, yes. Kidneys, of course, we know about kidneys, right? And the filtration and how important they are. What maybe some of you don't know is that how much the kidneys affect your adrenals. They're sitting on top of each other. In Chinese medicine, they're one organ. So all of you very much aware of the fact that your adrenals may be depleted. Well, guess what? If your adrenals are depleted, your kidneys are not functioning. So 5 elimination pathways: your gut, your kidneys, your skin. That's why everybody's getting all this acne, warts, rashes, eczema, because your kidneys are not working. So the body needs to use the skin to what? To eliminate toxicity. Remember the 3 elements: feed them, clean them, and move them. This is what we need to do. If you have any disease right now, or if you're concerned, the problem is at this level. It's not a breast level or a gut level. The problem is a cellular level. So feed them, clean them, and move them. And if you have an issue, these 3 processes are not working, okay? So skin, eliminating toxicity through the skin, and sometimes in a disproportionate way, because your kidneys are not working, because you're stressed. Why? Because you live in fear, PTSD mode, and that's your adrenals, that your autonomic nervous system, but your adrenals are affecting your kidneys. So if you're always squeezing these adrenals, your kidneys are not working, okay? So gut, kidneys, skin, lungs. Nobody talks about lungs. Everybody's focused on the gut. Some people talk about the liver. Nobody talks about the lungs. Guys, the lungs, especially when we talk breast cancer, the lungs is the 4th elimination pathways in my book, in my teachings. 4th elimination pathways. I don't make this up. It's true, right? So you breathe in what? Oxygen that does what? Feeds the cells. Remember the food? that you gotta feed them. So it's not just about what you eat, your salads and your fruit, it's your oxygen intake. And if that's not proper, then you are starving those cells of a very important element, which is the oxygen, which is food. But guess what? The lungs don't just feed, they also eliminate, right? So when you breathe out, you eliminate what? Toxicity. So guess what? Now, 10 out of 10 people are shallow breathers. What does that mean? That if I make you do the exercise that we do during lymphatic reset, you will find yourself really breathing like this. And why? Because you live in fear, because you live in a state of fight or flight, because you live on a sympathetic dominant state. And so what happens when you're scared? That's what we do, right? So your lungs, and then when this is becoming a chronic situation, what happens is that it becomes kind of part of your implicit memory. That's how you breathe. Even if you're not scared, you're still a shallow breather. But what do you mean? What does that mean? It means that you're starving your cells. Remember the 3 cells? So let's not get surprised when then we have some imbalances. If we're not feeding these cells properly, if we're not breathing properly, but nobody talks lungs and we talk lungs and we do exercises for lungs, we become aware of lungs and their importance. And I will go to a extent of telling you that your lungs are the pump of the lymphatic system. That means the pump that moves your elimination highway, and also the pump that moves your blood. That's a whole nother story. I don't want to get into it now. But if you want to learn more and learn how to really take care of yourself and never have to see a doctor again, come and join our lymphatic reset. It will change your mind and your life. So, and the 5th elimination pathways is your tears. Remember we talked about emotional toxicity? And this one has so much more weight than all of this together. Remember when Joe Dispenza talks about quantum energy and how our consciousness can change? Okay, this is it, guys. Your emotional toxicity, becoming aware of what you're ingesting and swallowing that is not on your plate, but every day. Whether you hate your husband, whether you go to a job that you hate, whether you are estranged from your own kids or your own parents, whether you live in a place that you hate and you wanted to live at the beach, but you live in Minnesota, all this affect the emotional toxicity that it's chronic and you're repressed. And we're not even touching abuse and neglect in childhood. That's what we do in Soul Circle, right? So that is really heavy. They don't all have the same weight, but you fix your emotional toxicity, you start dumping out you do the emotional detox that we do in Soul Circle, and you can get away with this. First of all of this will kind of start to work better. So you can act on your emotions and fix your lungs. Because if you're happier, you don't have to be in a fight or flight state anymore. You don't have to shallow breathing anymore. You don't have to live like this. You breathe fully when you're happy, when you're fulfilled, right? So you think they're disconnected, but they're all together. Then, of course, your diet, you guys. So that's basic. I feel like I'm a nutritional therapist, but now it's like so yesterday news. Everybody should know what they should eat for health, right? But what I'm here to tell you, and probably you don't hear from other practitioners because I see them, I hear them, I read them. They also focus on telling you, eat this, take all these supplements and do that. And nobody tells you that, like the Italian women and the French women and the Spanish women, for instance. If you address your emotional toxicity, you get away with having a pizza and the wine and enjoy your family and don't get sick. Nobody tells you that because there's no money in that, right? Because even the most natural guy, isn't he selling you supplements? Doesn't he want you to be on a specific brand for the rest of your life with no hands inside? And how does he do that? By keeping you in a state of fear and telling you that the soil are depleted, the sky is, it's poisoned, and that, God forbid you go see a doctor, get your blood work, that's a state of fear. So what do? I gotta take all the supplements. I literally have clients coming with luggage of supplements and say, okay, which one should I take or keep or what? That's how you live? So not forget about allopathic doctors, but even the functional doctors, even the ones, they all have their own supplement brands, right? They put their label in there and they promote this. So name me even the ones I follow that I like and I respect, they all have their supplements. And so nobody tells you that you could do this without supplements. Nobody tells you that if you are in a fulfilling relationship instead of an abusive one, you don't need zinc, D3, GABA, whatever it is that you guys take, lemon clots, but you don't need that. How are people healthy and having a good life without even having heard of Vimergy or whatever, Hawaiian Farm or whatever other supplements you guys take, or Dr. Morse, whatever that is? How do they do that? How do they live a happy life? They have cheese and wine and they still don't have breast cancer. How is that possible? Their body was built like yours. It's just their consciousness that is different. So become aware of that. So obviously healthy diet, guys. But again, healthy diet on and off the table. My tagline: promoting nutritional excellence on and off the table. It's not just about your diet, because otherwise you put yourself in the box, then you become orthorexia, you develop orthorexia, and that's what happens. You're in this other cage. Oh my God, in order for me to avoid diseases and live a long and healthy life, I can only eat this, and I can only take all these supplements, and if I miss the supplement, God forbid. This is not freedom. This is not empowerment, guys. This is not life. I don't care who says it. This is not life. So, sun. Guys, sun is healing. Everybody's talking about D3 and how much D3 is needed and all that. When are you in the sun? And I don't care if it's winter, you can still be in the sun at the window if it's too close to be cold to be outside, and get naked, you guys. Skin exposed to the sun. When? Every day. Yes, you also do your massage every day, and you also be in the sun every day. 10 minutes, 20 minutes, every day. The sun is healing, you guys. So, and the sun kills pathogens. And I'll tell you that, have you ever had do you ever forget your clothes in the laundry and they stink? Then take them, put them in the sun, dry them in your dryer, then put them in the sun, and you still have that smell. Put them in the sun, leave them there for half day. The germs are gone. The same happens to your body. Your body needs the sun. So I know there's no money in the sun because nobody has, patented the sun, and, but it's so easy, so simple. Sun, be in the sun every day. Use, if you are concerned, if you feel any congestion, use red light therapy. Use sauna to help. Some saunas also come with the red light therapy. So use red light therapy. It's part of my COVID protocol as well. But look into red light therapy and see why, the benefits of that. That could be something to do. Of course, move your elimination pathways. Jump on that trampoline, on the rebounder. You gotta move. But if you can't, if you are too sick or too weak, it's okay. As long as you breathe, you're still pumping that lymphatic system, right? So breathe, and you also get more oxygen in. And just by breathing, exercises. So I tell my clients to put a reminder on their phone to breathe. Yes, I know it sounds crazy, but you gotta do it if you want to switch into a parasympathetic state. Meaning, right now, by default, you're a shallow breather. I don't even need you to do the exercise. I know you are. 9 out of 10 people are. So consider that you're a shallow breather and you need to revert this. And it's like going to the treadmill. You don't just revert it by thinking, you gotta practice every day. Every day you gotta do these breathing exercises so that finally it gets ingrained in your nervous system, the autonomic one, the one that just works automatically. And so you don't have to think about it anymore. But for now, because you've lived 30, 40, 50, 60 years, however old you are, in a fight or flight mode. I promise you, most of us do. So most of us are shallow breathers. Most of us have a congested fourth elimination pathways, which is the kidneys. Fourth elimination pathway, your kidneys. And again, we're talking about breast health. You want your kidneys to be in good shape, right? Because they're so close. So remember so if there's congestion here, of course, you look at what is the closest elimination pathways. Now, the lymphatic system goes from head to toe. Notice I call this the lymphatic reset, and I haven't talked really in the 5 elimination pathways. I don't mention the lymphatic system, but it goes from head to toe. Every organ in your body has lymphatic vessels, including the liver, including your kidneys, including your lungs. So when I say that you need to detoxify your lungs, especially when we talk about breast health, and we do that by breathing, right? Yes, there are some herbs that you can take. If today we were talking with a client about, her daughter possibly having asthma, yes. But the point is not to think outside of yourself. The point is coming back to yourself and say, okay, what is the closest elimination pathway? although it's a systemic issue, most likely my lungs are not working properly. Why? Because I'm on a fight or flight mode. And when I'm on fight or flight mode, my breathing becomes shallow, my digestion shuts down, my detoxing shuts down, I don't sleep well, sorry, and I don't rest well, okay? So this is why it's important. By the breathing also helps you become more present, remember all the things we discussed before, and also helps you switch into a parasympathetic state, which is the state that by design, by chemistry, by the way we were designed, switches you into being able to properly sleep, having a restful sleep, having an efficient bowel movement. So goodbye constipation. I have a program that is dedicated to people with autoimmunity, and we of course look at the gut. We look at all of them, but we look at the gut, and I do some stool testing. You guys, if you're dealing with any sorts of imbalances, but in this case autoimmunity, ask yourself, have I been constipated most of my life? What does that constipation mean? It means that the toxicity needed to go out through your poop is not going out. Where is that going? Because when you manage to poop 2 or 3 times a day, at times, versus times in which you skip a day, or maybe some people even a week. I had a client who was pregnant. She basically would never go to the bathroom. Now, how do we think that that child could come out healthy? Talking about inheritance, right? So, what was I saying? So, yes, switch into a parasympathetic state through your breathing and your meditation so that you don't need to be congested anymore and constipated anymore. So you can poop 2 to 3 times a day as you should. But now there's so much hoarded toxicity from the past that you haven't pooped out that we need to work on those. So that's a different story. Look at up my lymphatic reset for that. But in general, I would say be mindful of your breathing and your lungs as an important elimination pathway so that you can switch into a state that allows for proper detoxification. Okay? Okay. So let me see if I have questions, because they're saying that I have to monitor you guys from the computer. So, but if you have questions, you guys, can you say hi? Tell me that you're seeing me. Do we have questions? So through. Nope. Hi Barbara. Hi Shalini. Okay, so don't seem to have questions here. So what was the conversation today? It was a conversation about becoming aware that we are all being pink washed, that we're all being pushed to live in a state of fear, and disconnecting ourselves from our breast, which is a beautiful organ. Oh, did I mention, you guys know, I never wear bra. I never did. And I have a fairly large chest. So my friends used to tell me, Barbara, your boobs are going to be so saggy by the time you turn 40, you know, because you're not wearing bras. My boobs are still as perky, I would say, as I were in my 30s, not my 20s. But compared to all of my friends with saggy boobs that have been wearing their bras and their underwire for a long time, you know what that does? I mean, first of all, I feel really, really comfortable. It's not true that if you have large breasts, you have to wear a bra. Now, if I do run, sometimes I wear a sports bra, but other than that, I never ever wear a bra, in good and bad. So wearing a bra and having saggy boobs is not connected. But wearing a bra is gonna cut that blood supply, remember the 3? The feeding, the cleaning, is gonna affect your lymphatic system, and then of course eventually the moving, right? So don't wear bra as much as possible. Start going braless. This is the most freeing things that you can do. Start loving yourself. Start realizing that there's an agenda there. And not because I want you to focus on the evil. Oh, Barbara, there's evil in the world. Evil is just the other side of the coin of, you know, light. So where there's light, there's darkness. Otherwise, we wouldn't be able to see the light. So, but don't focus on the evil. Don't focus, oh my God, they're out to get us. This is not, you need to zone out that noise. And whoever wants to keep you in that state, continuing to do podcasts and books about how much they are after you. You focus on, how do I get my power back? And you get your power back by becoming present. Remember the first thing I told you, pause? You have to become present, because otherwise you're like freaking out all the time. You know, freaking out about what's going to happen, if you're going to die, if you're going to leave your children motherless based on what you've been hurt, the experience of your mother, your grandmother, you know. So this PTSD and fight or flight mode that we're consistently in. We gotta bring the power back by becoming present. And when we are empowered, whatever is out there, however you want to call it, the agenda, the Illuminati, the evil, whatever that is, cannot come through. Do you understand? Imagine if all of us woke up to our own consciousness and to our own self-empowerment, and we don't need them anymore. We don't need any more herbs, supplements. We don't need any more diets. We just know who we are, and we start loving ourselves, and we heal the childhood wounds that brought us to believe that we don't deserve to be loved. That brought us to believe that we have to put everybody else first before our own selves, because this is the only way we know to be loved. This is how we think. We have internalized, this is how I'm gonna be loved. If I put everybody else before me, if I achieve and overachieve, that is your childhood wound. So circle one, look it up, Barbara Smith on their program, guys. So, but that is how we get our power back. And when we do that, there's no darkness that can come through. And with that, there's no illness. The Tibetans call it Wang Tang. That is your field of power. In there, there's no space for disease. This is how this possible, spontaneous remission happened. Like my client that dissolved her mass in a week because she was so motivated to not die. So you guys, empowerment is everything. And empowerment is those boundaries that you can create around yourself to say, I am gonna just let the light in and this darkness can stay out. And again, by darkness, I mean government, politics, whatever, you name it, right? Whatever makes you feel, if you listen to someone and at the end of that life, you feel disempowered and freaked out, right? You know what to do. Are they trying to help you there? Like how's that working? Do you feel that after you listen to that person, you feel empowered, say, I know what to do, and I know that the power resides in me. I have everything I need. Even if I don't take one celery juice or one vitamin supplement ever again, I have everything in me to heal myself and to protect myself. But the focus should never be, again, on the negative. The focus should never be, let me see if I can find a lump. The focus should be, how can I love myself? How can I put myself first? How can I nurture myself? That's where the focus should be. So you've heard before that your thoughts manifest your reality, right? So I have clients so focused on that, they're freaked out, they don't even mention words because they're like, I don't want to use the C word, I don't want to do that, because they're so concerned that they're going to bring that into their reality. That's not true. Why? Because you don't manifest your reality based on your thoughts. Because you have millions of thoughts throughout your brain every day. You know how many times I thought I wanted I was going to win a lottery? I didn't win it, but I thought it. My husband is so convinced he's going to win the lottery, it's scaring me. To be honest, it's scaring me. I'm like, how on earth? But he's so convinced. He might even end up winning because he's so convinced. You know how you manifest your reality? How you build your reality? By taking these thoughts, millions of them, stopping on one, attaching a meaning to it, that it becomes your belief. So your beliefs manifest your reality. Everything you're feeling right now, everything you're going through is because you believed that you deserved it, that you were not good enough, that this is what has to happen. Not because you thought about it. You have millions of thoughts, but you gotta pay attention to what you decide to believe in. So this is your choice, and this is the empowerment, people, because when you realize, okay, I choose what I want to attach meaning to, what I want to believe, and what I don't want to believe. You choose. So based on your beliefs, you create your reality. And if you start believing today that you are a goddess, a powerful goddess that has everything, it doesn't matter how sick you feel right now, that you have everything in you to heal yourself and the generations to come, that darkness cannot enter your body, and whatever is already in is gonna leave. Elimination, right? I'm the elimination girl. So elimination, an elimination of energy, negative energy, toxicity that doesn't belong, that is disempowering you. So listen to people, get your knowledge, read the books, do whatever you need to do, but become aware. Pause, go in and say, how do I feel after this book? How do I feel after this live? How do I feel after this masterclass? I mean, am I feeling empowered? Or am I scared shitless? Right? Am I putting myself in the box? Not having sex, not meeting people, not going on vacation, not going to restaurants because I'm so scared of what would happen if I do? Then you know that fear holds you by your boobs. And that is not a place of power. That is not your one tang. You need to be in your power zone to be blossoming into the powerful goddess that you are. But you can only do that by becoming present and start to realize what power and meaning you're giving to thoughts. Again, think whatever you want. When you meditate, probably is the moment you flood with thoughts. They're not going to manifest simply because it's, oh my God, I'm going to get breast cancer. No. But if you believe that you're going to get breast cancer, that's different. If you believe that if you eat gluten, you're going to get breast cancer, that's different. If you believe that your boobs are just a means to feed your kids and, you know, enjoy your spouse, that's different. It's what you believe that changes everything, you guys. Okay? See you tomorrow. Bye.